Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks after the video was first posted. The buzzing started during the lunch rush. At first, Emma thought it was the espresso machine acting up again, that high-pitched whine it made when the pressure got too high. But no, her phone, tucked in her apron pocket, was vibrating like it was having a seizure. She was carrying a tray of iced lattes to table 7, where Bluetooth headset guy was conducting his usual very important business call that somehow always required him to sit at Cafe Magnifi for 3 hours nursing a single Americano. Buzz, 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 buzz. Her phone sounded like it was trying to escape. "Your coffee, sir," she said with her practiced smile, the one that said, "I'm delighted to serve you," while her feet screamed in protest from the blister forming on her left heel. He barely glanced up, but then his eyes caught something on his own phone. He looked at her, really looked at her, and grinned. Hey, that's you!" Emma's tray tilted slightly. She steadied it. "I'm sorry? You're famous." And he turned his phone around. A video was playing. She could see movement, hear cafe sounds, but couldn't process what she was seeing before he pulled it back. Already typing something. "You're totally famous. This is wild." The tray felt heavier. She set it down carefully, walked back to the counter where Dorothy was wiping down the espresso machine, trying to look busy while clearly eavesdropping. "What was that about?" Dorothy whispered. Emma pulled out her phone. 47 missed calls, 32 text messages. Instagram notifications had stopped counting at 99 plus. Her TikTok, which she'd made 3 years ago and forgotten about, had 847 new followers. "What the?" Dorothy leaned over, clicked on one of the text messages from an unknown number. "Hi, I'm a producer at Good Morning America. We'd love to have you on the show to discuss." "Emma." Dorothy's voice had changed, sharp. She was scrolling on her own phone. "Emma, what did you do?" "I didn't do anything. There's a video of you. It has, oh my God, it has 3 million views." The espresso machine chose that moment to actually start whining. Neither of them moved. Dorothy clicked play. Emma watched herself, 3 weeks ago, wearing the same uniform, the same tired smile, guiding a soaked man in worn-out clothes to a corner table. Watched herself bring him cappuccino and apple pie. Watched herself slide something under his saucer while whispering. The video's caption read, "Waitress protects homeless man at luxury cafe. Plot twist, he owns the place." The comments were a war zone. "This is what humanity should be." "Wait, so she didn't know?" "Gold digger playing 4D chess." The mail. "Corporate social experiment gone viral." She definitely knew. Imagine being this naive. Emma's hands were shaking. She set down her phone before she dropped it. "I need to..." She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't know how to. Richard, the manager, appeared from the back office. His face had that pinched look that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. "Emma, my office, now." 10 minutes later, she stood in Richard's cramped office, still wearing her apron, while he sat behind his desk looking like he'd aged 5 years in the past 10 minutes. "Corporate called," he said. His voice was gentle. That was somehow worse than if he'd been angry. "The publicity is complicated. I was just being nice to a customer." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. I know you were." He rubbed his face. "But the video makes it look like they're saying we were running some kind of social experiment, that we knew, that it was staged for publicity. It wasn't. I believe you." He did. She could see it. But corporate wants to distance from the narrative. They think keeping you on staff looks like we're endorsing authenticity tests or whatever the hell people are calling it. Emma's brain felt slow. "Are you firing me?" "I'm so sorry." The thing about devastation is that it doesn't feel like anything dramatic. It feels quiet. It feels like standing in a too small office while your manager, who you actually like, who always lets you take extra breaks when your feet hurt, slides a final paycheck across the desk and asks for your apron. She untied it, folded it neatly, set it on his desk. "Your name tag too," he said quietly. She unpinned it, started to hand it over. He waved it away. "Keep it. Souvenir or something." "Right. Souvenir." She laughed. It came out wrong. She walked through the cafe one last time. Customers were staring. Some had their phones out. Bluetooth headset guy gave her a thumbs up, like this was all very entertaining. The subway was packed. She stood holding the pole, still in her work clothes, minus the apron, her name tag digging into her palm, where she'd shoved it in her pocket. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She turned it off, then immediately turned it back on because she needed the subway map to get home. 3 more stops. Then Dorothy's apartment. Then maybe she could think. Dorothy's apartment smelled like vanilla candles and cat. Emma knocked. The door flew open. Dorothy took one look at her face and said, "Wine or ice cream?" "Both." "Good answer." They sat on Dorothy's worn carpet, the one with the coffee stain that looked like Florida, with a pint of mint chocolate chip and a bottle of $7 wine. That was definitely not supposed to be $7, but here they were. Dorothy had her laptop balanced on the coffee table. The video played on loop. "Okay, but you do look like a saint in this lighting," Dorothy said, squinting at the screen. "That's your takeaway?" "I'm trying to find the silver lining here." Emma ate ice cream directly from the container. "There is no silver lining. I lost my job. I'm internet famous for being naive. And apparently the entire world thinks I'm either an idiot or a gold digger." "Or both," Dorothy added helpfully. Then, "Sorry, that wasn't helpful. Not even a little." They watched the video again. Dorothy started narrating it like a nature documentary. And here we see the rare urban martyr in her natural habitat, dispensing kindness to disguised billionaires. Dorothy, the billionaire, in his cleverly crafted backpacker costume, observes her behavior for his social experiment. Dorothy: "What? I'm coping through humor. It's a valid coping mechanism." Despite everything, Emma laughed. It came out half-sob, but still. Progress. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another news outlet. Dorothy grabbed the phone, scrolled through comments on the video. Her expression changed. Oh, Emma. What now?" Someone found him, identified him. Dorothy clicked on a comment thread. "That's what's his name. Hold on." She pulled up a new tab. "Michael Chen, CEO of Cafe Magnify Holdings. Net worth $2.3 billion, according to Bloomberg." The ice cream suddenly tasted like nothing. Dorothy kept reading. "There's a New York Post article from this morning. Billionaire cafe mogul caught in viral kindness test. Video." She scrolled. It says, "Sources close to Chen suggest he's been conducting social experiments at various locations to test employee and customer behavior." Emma stared at the laptop screen. At his professional photo, sharp suit, commanding presence, looking nothing like the soaked, exhausted man she'd guided to a corner table. She thought about how she'd taught him to use coupons at the grocery store, how she'd taken him thrift shopping, how she'd showed him how to make budget carbonara in her tiny kitchen, and he'd burned the garlic twice, how they'd sat on her floor eating pizza and talking about the Little Prince, how 3 nights ago they'd almost kissed outside her apartment. Her voice came out flat. "He tested me." Dorothy closed the laptop. "Yeah, he did." They sat in silence. The vanilla candle flickered. Dorothy's cat, Mr. Whiskers, jumped onto Emma's lap, completely unaware that her entire life had just imploded. She pet him mechanically, found the name tag still in her pocket, looked at it. Emma, Cafe Magnifi, excellence in every cup. She laughed, cried, both. Dorothy put an arm around her shoulders, said nothing. That was the best thing about Dorothy. She knew when silence was better than solutions. 3 weeks earlier, Emma's alarm went off at 5:47 a.m. Not 5:45, not 5:50. The extra 2 minutes mattered. She silenced it before the second beep. Her studio apartment was small enough that the bed was also technically the living room, dining room, and general life conducting area. The kitchen was a galley situation along one wall. The bathroom was optimistic. But it was hers. Rent was $1,200 a month. She made it work. She shuffled to the kitchen in the oversized t-shirt she slept in, filled her mocha pot, which she'd named Paolo because it sounded distinguished and also because she was slightly delirious from working 6 days a week and needed small joys where she could find them. "Morning, Paolo," she said, setting him on the stove. Paolo hissed and bubbled to life. Good boy. While the coffee brewed, she checked her bank account on her phone. $847. Rent was due in 11 days. She had 3 shifts this week at Cafe Magnify, 2 at the bakery on weekends. If she got decent tips, she did the math in her head. It would be fine. It was always fine. Barely fine, but fine. Paolo finished his performance. She poured coffee into her favorite mug, the one with the chip on the rim that she kept meaning to throw out, but couldn't because it had been her grandmother's. "Good job, Paolo," she told the mocha pot seriously. In the shower, which had water pressure that could generously be described as a suggestion, she ran through her day. Morning shift at Magnifi, hope for good tips, smile at rich people who wouldn't smile back. Try not to think about how she was 27 and still living paycheck to paycheck. She had 2 work shirts, both white button-downs, both slightly faded from too many washes. She chose the less faded one. Black pants. Comfortable shoes that were developing holes in the soles, but she'd make them last another month. Looked at herself in the mirror. Presentable. Professional. Tired, but that was standard. Coffee. Shirt. Shoes. Subway. Tuesday had begun. Cafe Magnifi smelled like expensive coffee and quiet judgment. Emma arrived at 6:45 a.m. for the 7 opening. Dorothy was already there, setting up the espresso machine with the focused intensity of a surgeon. "You look exhausted," Dorothy said by way of greeting. "Good morning to you, too." "I'm stating facts." Did you sleep? Define sleep. That's a no. Dorothy finished calibrating the machine. Tested the steam wand. Perfect pressure. Almond milk no foam lady is coming in today. I can feel it. Emma groaned. Almond milk no foam lady was their nemesis. She changed her order 4 times, complained about temperature, regardless of actual temperature, and tipped exactly 12%. Every time. Maybe she'll surprise us, Emma said without conviction. And maybe I'll win the lottery. Dorothy opened the register. Speaking of, did you buy our ticket? They had a running joke about their retirement plan, buying a lottery ticket every week and splitting it. So far, they'd won exactly $8. Bought it yesterday. We're going to win this time. I can feel it. That's what you said last week. This time is different. And the first customers arrived at 7:03. A man in a suit, already on his phone, ordered an espresso to go without making eye contact. A woman with designer sunglasses, indoors, wanted a cappuccino with oat milk, extra hot but not too hot. And could Emma make sure there was enough foam but not too much foam? Emma made the cappuccino. It was perfect. The woman frowned at it like it had personally offended her but drank it anyway. By 9 a.m., the morning rush was in full swing. Emma's feet already hurt. Her smile was starting to feel painted on. Bluetooth headset guy arrived and claimed his usual table. Large Americano, room for cream. Of course. A group of young professionals, finance types based on the expensive watches, and casual discussion of stock portfolios filled the large corner booth. They ordered 6 different, complicated drinks and talked loudly about a deal they were closing. Emma delivered their order. They didn't acknowledge her. One of them was literally mid-sentence about leveraging market inefficiencies when she set down his matcha latte. She walked back to the counter. Dorothy was making a latte art heart. You ever notice, Dorothy said quietly, that rich people tip in exact percentages, like they calculated it? Emma leaned against the counter. Her back ached. Yeah? Poor people tip in round numbers, because they remember what it's like. It was such a small observation, such a Dorothy observation, but it was also completely true. Emma had waited tables since college. She'd been on the receiving end of both kinds of tips. The carefully calculated 15% from someone in a $1,000 suit. The crumpled $5 bill from someone who looked like that $5 mattered, sliding it across the counter with a "thanks, honey" that actually sounded sincere. Generosity has a memory, Emma said. Dorothy looked at her. That's depressingly wise. I'm depressingly tired. A woman at table 3 snapped her fingers, actually snapped them, like Emma was a dog. Emma's smile tightened. She walked over. How can I help you? This coffee is cold. Emma could see the steam rising from it. I can remake it for you. Please. She took the coffee back. Made a new one. Identical to the first one because the first one had been perfect and definitely not cold. The woman took a sip, nodded like Emma had finally done something right. No tip in the jar. After the shift, Emma walked. Her apartment was only 4 subway stops away, but she liked walking when the weather was decent and she had time and her feet weren't completely destroyed. It helped her decompress. Helped her remember that the world was bigger than Café Magnifi and entitled customers and the slow erosion of being polite to people who treated you like furniture. She took the long way, always did. Corner of Lexington and 68th. There it was. The closed bookstore. She stopped, like she always stopped. Looked through the dusty windows, like she always did. 8 months it had been sitting here, empty, waiting for lease sign in the window. She'd Googled the details approximately 100 times. $2,000 a month? Required deposit, plus first and last month's rent, $6,000 up front. Would need significant renovation. She had $847 in her bank account, but she looked anyway. Saw the built-in bookshelves, good bones, her grandmother would have said. High tin ceiling, original hardwood floors under the dust. Small back room that could be converted into a cafe area. Imagined it, books lining the walls, mismatched comfortable chairs, the smell of coffee and old paper. A place where people felt welcome even if they only ordered water, where you could sit for hours without anyone snapping their fingers at you. She pressed her hand against the glass. A businessman rushed past, bumped her shoulder, didn't apologize, kept walking while yelling into his phone about quarterly projections. Emma smiled at the window, at her reflection, at the impossible dream on the other side of the glass. Someday, she whispered. The bookstore didn't answer, but it didn't need to. She kept walking. That night, her phone buzzed. Dorothy. Rough day? Emma. $50 tip guilt man left $5 today. Dorothy. Character development. Emma. For who? Dorothy. For us. We're developing spite. Emma laughed into her pillow. Spite was cheaper than therapy. Dorothy. Lottery numbers are up. We didn't win. Emma, shocked. Shocked. Dorothy, there's always next week. Emma, there's always next week. She set her phone down, stared at her ceiling, which had a water stain that looked vaguely like a rabbit, or maybe a really deformed cloud. 27 years old, $847 in savings, dreams that cost $6,000 just to start. But tomorrow was Wednesday. Wednesday tips were sometimes better, and Paolo would make good coffee. And Dorothy would be there with her running commentary on the absurdity of everything. Small joys, you took them where you could find them. Emma closed her eyes. The rabbit cloud stain faded to black. Tomorrow, she'd try again tomorrow. Same Tuesday, different borough. Michael Chen's office occupied the entire top floor of a building in Midtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the skyline, furniture that cost more than most people's cars. He sat at his desk, minimalist, expensive, empty, except for a laptop and a single fountain pen, and listened to his CFO present Q4 expansion projections. Market analysis indicates optimal penetration in the 18 to 35 demographic if we target secondary urban markets. Portland, Austin, Denver, all showing promising indicators for premium cafe culture adoption. Michael nodded, made a note. His handwriting was precise. The CFO continued. Charts appeared on the screen. Revenue projections, cost-benefit analyses, competitive landscape positioning. Michael absorbed it all, saw the patterns, saw what was missing from the data, saw the opportunity. What about employee retention in these markets? He asked. The CFO blinked. Sir, if we expand to 12 new locations in 8 months, we'll need approximately 200 new hires. What's our retention strategy? We follow standard industry protocols. Competitive wages for the region, benefits after 90 days. Industry average retention in food service is what, 60 days, approximately. And so we'll be constantly training new staff, losing institutional knowledge, providing inconsistent customer experience. Michael set down his pen. Factor in recruitment and training costs for 30% annual turnover, recalculate ROI. The CFO looked like he'd been hit with a fish. That will significantly impact our projections. Significantly impact our reality, Michael corrected. I want real numbers, not optimistic ones. Yes, sir. The meeting concluded. People filed out. Michael stayed at his desk, looked at the skyline. Felt nothing. 14-hour days, 7 days a week, 200 locations across 17 states. Revenue in the billions. And every single day felt like this. Efficient, successful, empty. His assistant knocked. Mr. Chen, the floral service called. They need to know what arrangement to send for Mayor Kim's wife's birthday. Michael looked up. What did we send last year? Orchids, sir. White dendrobium. He had absolutely no memory of this. And she liked them? She sent a thank you card. Send the same thing. His assistant made a note, hesitated. Sir, if I may, you might consider personalizing these gestures. Perhaps a handwritten note or... What kind of flowers do people actually like? Michael asked. His assistant stared. I'm sorry? In general, what flowers make people happy? That's very subjective, sir. Different people prefer different... Never mind. He waved a hand. Send the orchids. And a card. Something appropriate. Of course. She left. He returned to his laptop, opened his personal email, empty except for automated newsletters and promotional content, opened his text messages. The last personal message was from 3 weeks ago. His brother, still on for Dad's birthday? Michael had responded, we'll try to make it. He hadn't made it. His phone sat on his desk. Silent, professional. Nothing urgent, nothing personal. Nothing. He picked it up anyway, scrolled through Instagram, which he barely used, saw a viral video in his feed. A young cafe worker helping an elderly woman who'd spilled her coffee. Comments flooded with faith in humanity restored and heart emojis. Michael watched it twice. Wondered if it was real. Wondered if the woman knew she was being filmed. Wondered if kindness only existed when cameras were present. He opened his notes app, typed, test hypothesis. Does genuine kindness exist without audience? Stared at it. Added, methodology, remove wealth indicators, observe behavior toward perceived low-status individual. It felt clinical, scientific, reasonable. It felt lonely. He closed the app, looked back at the skyline, made a decision he wouldn't understand the consequences of for another 3 weeks. That Wednesday, mid-afternoon, rain hit New York like it was angry about something. Emma was wiping down tables during the post-lunch lull when the door opened. A gust of wind brought in water and the smell of wet pavement and a man who looked like he'd been fished out of the Hudson River. The entire cafe went quiet. He was soaked, completely utterly drenched, hair plastered to his head. Wore clothes that might have been nice once, but now looked like they'd survived the apocalypse. Old jeans, worn-out jacket, backpack that was more duct tape than fabric. He stood in the entrance, dripping, looking uncertain. Every customer stared. One woman visibly pulled her purse closer. Emma felt something shift in her chest. That familiar anger at injustice, at people being cruel for no reason except that they could be. She set down her cleaning cloth, grabbed some napkins, walked over with her best smile. "Hi there," she said warmly. "Come on in. Let's get you somewhere warm." He looked at her. Really looked. Like he was seeing something he hadn't expected. "I don't want to make a mess," he said quietly. "It's New York in October. Everyone's a mess. Come on." When she guided him to the corner table, the one that was slightly hidden from the main cafe, away from the stairs. Set down the napkins. "Dry off. I'll be right back." When she returned with a cappuccino and a slice of apple pie, he was still dripping but looked less like he might bolt. She set them down, sat across from him, briefly because her feet were killing her, and she could pretend she was taking her break, 30 seconds early. "Rough day?" she asked. He laughed. It sounded surprised, like he'd forgotten how. "Yes, very rough." "Yeah, me too." She gestured at the cafe. "The secret to surviving rich people is pretending they're all toddlers. Makes everything make sense." He blinked, then smiled. An actual genuine smile. "That is surprisingly accurate. I have a degree in psychology. Well, I almost have a degree in psychology. I dropped out, but I learned that part." "What stopped you?" "Tuition. And the realization that I'd need another degree after that to actually make money, and I couldn't afford another 4 years of being broke." She shrugged. "So now I serve coffee to people who think I'm invisible. Character building." He looked down at his cappuccino, at the perfect foam heart Dorothy had made. "You're not invisible. Tell that to table 7. Before he could respond, she slid a $5 bill under his saucer, whispered, "For a real meal later, no one should go hungry." She stood before he could protest. Had to get back to work anyway. His voice stopped her. "Wait, what's your name?" She glanced at her name tag. "Emma." "Thank you, Emma. I'm Michael." "Nice to meet you, Michael. Welcome to Magnify. Try not to judge us by our customer base." 20 minutes later, everything changed. Almond Milk No Foam Lady was at her usual table. Saw Michael in the corner. Her expression curdled. She stood, spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "Excuse me, but I don't think it's appropriate to have people like that in an establishment like this. We pay premium prices." The cafe went quiet, everyone watching. Bluetooth headset guy nodded. "I have to agree. This affects the atmosphere we're paying for." Emma was at the espresso machine, felt her jaw tighten. Dorothy whispered, "Don't." Emma set down the coffee pot, walked to Michael's table, stood beside him. "This gentleman," she said clearly, "is a paying customer, just like you." He ordered a cappuccino and apple pie. "His money is as good as yours." But look at him." "I am looking at him." Emma's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. "I see someone who walked through the rain and needed somewhere warm. If that makes you uncomfortable, perhaps you should examine why you equate someone's worth with their appearance." Silence. Almond Milk No Foam Lady drew herself up. "I'm calling the manager." "Please do. I'll tell him the same thing." And in the corner booth, a young woman, mid-20s, fashion blogger aesthetic, had her phone out, recording. Not hiding it. This was content gold. Michael sat very still, looked at Emma. Something in his chest cracked open. Guilt and admiration, and the horrible realization that he'd engineered this exact moment. Dorothy stood behind the counter, eyes wide, mouthed, "Oh shit." The customer grabbed her purse, stormed out. Others went back to their coffee, murmuring. Emma returned to work. Her hands shook slightly, but her smile held. Michael watched her, wanted to tell her to stop, that she'd just defended a test subject, that the whole thing was a lie. Couldn't, because that would blow the experiment. So he sat with his guilt and cappuccino and the $5 bill she'd given him. The young woman in the corner posted the video to TikTok with the caption, "When kindness fights back," and it got 43 views in the first hour. None of them knew yet what they'd started. Michael left before closing, turned at the door, looked back. Emma was wiping tables, still smiling at customers. Professional, kind, exhausted. He thought, it's real, she's real. Then thought, what have I done? The rain had stopped. He walked to his car 3 blocks away. A Tesla parked in a garage because Michael Chen didn't take the subway, didn't get soaked in the rain unless he was choosing to. His driver was waiting. "Rough day, sir?" "You have no idea." On the drive back to his real apartment, the one with the doorman and the view and the furniture that cost more than Emma probably made in a year, Michael looked at the $5 bill. She'd given him money. Actual money she probably needed. He felt sick. Back in his apartment, he showered, changed into real clothes, made chamomile tea in his designer kitchen, sat on his minimalist couch and wondered if proving a hypothesis was worth what it might cost. The next day, Thursday, Michael came back. Same disguise, less wet. Still wearing the backpack that was more tape than fabric, the jacket with the broken zipper, Emma saw him from across the cafe. Her face lit up. "Backpack," she called. "You came back." He startled at the nickname, then smiled despite himself. Yes, is that okay?" "Always." And she was already pouring coffee. "Same table?" "If it's not too much trouble." Was Michael, "You are the least trouble I've had all day." Bluetooth headset guy is on hour 2 of his very important call and has asked me to adjust the temperature 3 times. You could literally set something on fire and still be my favorite customer. He laughed. An actual laugh. They fell into a routine over the next week. He'd come in mid-afternoon. She'd bring him coffee. They'd talk during her breaks, stolen 5-minute conversations that felt longer than they were. He learned. She wanted to own a bookstore cafe someday. She loved The Little Prince. She was terrible at keeping plants alive, but kept trying anyway. She thought pineapple on pizza was a personal choice that should be respected even if it's wrong. She learned. He was between jobs. He was smart, scary smart, actually. The kind of smart that made you wonder how he'd ended up with an ancient backpack and holes in his shoes. He'd never used a coupon in his life. He could quote Nietzsche, but couldn't cook an egg. "You've seriously never cooked?" Emma asked one Thursday during a rare, slow afternoon. "I've heated things. Does that count?" "No, absolutely not. Heating is not cooking." What's the difference?" She stared at him. "Michael, buddy, we need to fix this." Which is how they ended up in Emma's apartment that Saturday. "Okay, rule number 1 of grocery shopping," Emma said, leading him down the cramped aisles of the discount grocery store. "Coupons are your friend." Michael held the circular she'd handed him like it was written in hieroglyphics. "How do you organize these?" "By aisle and expiration date. See, these are good until next Tuesday. These are about to expire, which means the store is desperate to move product, which means extra discounts." This is fascinating. This is surviving on $28,000 a year. He went quiet. She noticed. "Sorry. That was—" "No." He shook his head. "Don't apologize. I'm learning." They moved through the store. Emma grabbed generic pasta, canned tomatoes, garlic, pancetta from the bargain bin. "We're making carbonara," she announced. "What's that?" "Proof that poor people eat better than rich people when we're trying." At checkout, Michael attempted to use his coupons, scanned the same one 4 times. The cashier sighed. The line behind them grew. Emma rescued him, laughing. "Here, let me— I want to learn." You're holding up Mrs. Rodriguez and she will cut you." Mrs. Rodriguez, 3 people back, nodded seriously. Emma's apartment was smaller than Michael's closet. He didn't say that, but he thought it. "Welcome to my palace," Emma said, unlocking the door. "Try to contain your awe." It was tiny. 1 room. Galley kitchen. Bathroom so small you'd have to leave to change your mind, but it was clean, organized. There were books everywhere, stacked on shelves, piled beside the bed, used as a makeshift coffee table, and it felt lived in, felt like a home. His apartment felt like a hotel. "Okay." Emma pulled out a pot. "Carbonara is actually easy, but you can absolutely screw it up. The key is the eggs don't scramble." Why would they scramble? "Because you'll panic and add them when the pan is too hot, and then you'll have scrambled eggs with pasta instead of a sauce." "That sounds bad." "It's a tragedy." And she walked him through it. Boiling pasta, crisping pancetta, making the egg mixture. Michael burned the garlic. "How?" Emma stared at the pan. "How did you burn garlic? It was in there for 30 seconds. "I don't know. I was watching it, and then it was burned." "Did you, Michael? Did you turn the heat all the way up?" "I thought higher heat meant faster cooking." She dropped her face into her hands, started laughing, couldn't stop. He started laughing too. Standing in her tiny kitchen, smelling burned garlic, feeling more alive than he had in months. "Okay." Attempt number 2. Emma dumped the burned garlic, started fresh. "This time, I'm controlling the heat. You're on pasta duty." "I can handle pasta." "Don't get cocky." Attempt 2 went better. The carbonara came together, creamy, perfectly coated, with crispy pancetta and actual unburned garlic. They ate, sitting on her floor, because her table was currently supporting a stack of books about small business management. "This," Michael said after the first bite, "is incredible. This is budget Italian. Wait until you try my poverty pad thai." There's a poverty version?" "There's a poverty version of everything, if you're creative enough." They ate in comfortable silence. The window showed the fire escape. The evening light turned everything golden. "This is nice," Michael said quietly. Emma looked at him. "Yeah, it is." Their text messages started that night. "Michael, thank you for today, and for not mocking me too harshly about the garlic." Emma, "I did mock you. I mocked you extensively." Michael, "Fair. Thank you for not mocking me too harshly." Emma, there's always tomorrow. Michael, tomorrow? Emma, cooking lesson part 2, you're learning how to make eggs. Actually cook them, not burn them. Michael, I didn't burn eggs today. Emma, yet. You didn't burn eggs yet. Michael, your confidence in me is inspiring. Emma, I'm a realist. He stared at his phone. At this conversation that was so normal, it felt revolutionary. Looked around his apartment. Designer furniture, perfect lighting, profound emptiness. Thought about Emma's apartment, tiny, cramped, full of life. Michael, same time tomorrow? Emma, bring your A-game. We're attempting pancakes. Michael, I'm genuinely terrified. Emma, as you should be. He smiled at his phone. Felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. 2 weeks in, they developed patterns. Michael came to the cafe almost daily. Stayed for hours. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes Emma was too busy and he just sat in his corner table, reading books she recommended, watching her work. You know you don't have to keep buying coffee, she said one afternoon. You can just exist here. I like the coffee. You like Dorothy's foam art? That too. He started walking her home after shifts. Not every time, she'd insisted it wasn't necessary, but often enough that it became their thing. You don't have to, she said the third time. I know, I want to. They'd walk through New York in the early evening. Talk about everything. Books, childhood, the absurdity of modern life. Whether hot dogs were sandwiches? Emma, absolutely yes. Michael, philosophically questionable. One evening, walking past Washington Square Park. What do you actually want to do? Michael asked. Long term. The bookstore is part of it, but what's the dream? Emma thought about it. I want to create a place where people feel seen, where it doesn't matter if you're wearing a designer suit or have holes in your shoes, you're welcome. Where coffee doesn't cost $7, and you can sit for hours without anyone making you feel guilty. She paused. I know it sounds naive. It sounds kind. Same thing sometimes. Michael wanted to tell her about his cafe chain, about how his locations were exactly what she described as the problem. Wanted to tell her he could make her dream happen with a single phone call. Couldn't, because that would mean confessing the lie. You'll do it, he said instead. The bookstore. I believe in you. She smiled. You haven't even seen my business plan. Do you have one? I have a notebook with drawings and calculations and a lot of question marks. That's a start. They reached her building. The streetlight flickered. He walked her to her door like always. Michael? Yeah? Why are you here? Really here? In New York. I mean, you said you're between things, but... His heart stopped. I'm trying to figure out what's real. It was the truth, just not all of it. She nodded. Let me know when you figure it out. Meanwhile, on the internet, the video from the cafe sat at 243 views, barely a blip. But the algorithm was watching, learning, waiting. Dorothy noticed everything. So, she said one slow afternoon, wiping down the espresso machine while Emma restocked cups. Backpack guy? What about him? You like him? He's a friend. Sure, a friend you smile about when you think no one's looking. Emma threw a napkin at her. I do not. You absolutely do. It's very cute. Also, very concerning because, nothing about him except he can't cook and has read every book you've recommended. That's not nothing. Emma. Dorothy's voice went serious. I love you. You know this. But be careful. You have a habit of seeing the best in people, even when they're showing you red flags. He hasn't shown me red flags. He hasn't shown you much of anything. Where does he live? What does he do? How is he surviving in New York with no job? He's figuring things out. For 3 weeks. Emma didn't have an answer for that. Dorothy sighed. Just don't give away pieces of yourself to someone who might be keeping pieces from you, okay? Okay. But Emma's heart was already involved. Hearts didn't listen to advice. That night, the almost kiss, Michael walked her home. They'd grabbed dollar pizza because Emma insisted it was a New York rite of passage, and he'd been horrified and delighted by how good it was. At her door, they lingered. Had been lingering a lot lately, like neither wanted the evening to end. Tomorrow? He asked. Tomorrow. They stood there, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his eyes, close enough that he could count her freckles. The moment stretched, pulled taut, she looked up. He leaned down slightly. Her phone exploded with sound. Dorothy. Emergency. Mister. Whiskers is stuck in the bathroom ceiling. I don't know how. Please help. The moment shattered. Emma looked at her phone, started laughing. I have to... Dorothy's cat is in the ceiling. It's a whole thing. He does this. How does a cat get it in a ceiling? I ask myself this question monthly. They stood there laughing, the almost kiss hovering between them like a held breath. Tomorrow, she said again. Tomorrow, he agreed. She went inside. He stood there for a moment longer. Felt his phone buzz, his real phone, the one he kept hidden. Email from his PR team. Sir, quarterly review scheduled for next week. Need your presence at the Manhattan flagship location. The Manhattan flagship location, Café Magnifi, where Emma worked, where he'd been coming in disguise for 3 weeks. The guilt crashed over him again. Heavier this time. He should tell her. Should have told her already. Tomorrow, he decided. Tomorrow he'd figure out how to make this right. But tomorrow had other plans. 3 weeks later, Thursday afternoon, Emma sat in her apartment, the one where she'd taught Michael to cook, where they'd eaten pizza on the floor, where she'd let herself believe in something real. The video played on her laptop. Again. She watched herself defending him, watched the comments scroll. She's so pure. This is staged AF. Imagine being played this hard. Dorothy had left an hour ago. Had work. Couldn't stay. But had made Emma promise to text if she needed anything. Emma's phone sat silent beside her. She'd blocked most of the unknown numbers, the news requests, the interview offers. One number she hadn't blocked, Michael's. He hadn't called. 3 weeks of daily conversations. Hours of walking through New York, teaching him to cook, to use coupons, to navigate the subway. Nights spent talking about books and dreams and the space between who you are and who you wish you were. And he was a billionaire, testing her, conducting an experiment. She'd given him $5. The memory made her want to laugh and cry and throw something all at once. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, but the message preview showed New York Post article, Billionaire's social experiment, and she didn't open it. Same afternoon, Midtown Michael was in a board meeting when his PR team burst in. Sir, his PR director looked frazzled. Sir, you need to see this. The boardroom went quiet. Michael's jaw tightened. I'm in the middle of... It's urgent. She turned on the screen. The video filled the wall. Michael watched himself, 3 weeks ago, soaked and disguised, being defended by Emma. Watched her stand up to customers, twice her size, in wealth and social standing. Watched her risk her job for someone she thought had nothing. The view counter ticked up as he watched. 2. 3 million, 2.4 million. This is actually great publicity, his PR director started. Get out, sir. Everyone out, now. They filed out quickly. The door clicked shut. Michael sat alone in the boardroom. Watched the video again. Saw the moment it was filmed. Someone in the corner booth with their phone out. How had he missed that? No. He knew how. He'd been too focused on Emma, on the experiment, on proving his hypothesis. He'd proven it. Genuine kindness existed, and he'd destroyed it. He pulled out his phone, typed, I can explain, deleted it, typed, I'm sorry, deleted it, typed, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Stared at the message. What was it supposed to happen like? What did he think would happen when he lied to someone for 3 weeks? He deleted everything. Put his phone down. There was no text that would fix this. Friday morning, Dorothy's apartment. Emma showed up at dawn, hadn't slept, still in yesterday's clothes. Dorothy opened the door, took one look. Wine or ice cream? Neither. I can't eat. They sat on the couch. Dorothy put on a terrible reality show, something about people trying to survive on an island with only their drama for sustenance. You could sue, Dorothy said after a while. For what? Emotional distress, fraud, being made into a meme. Emma almost smiled. I don't think being made into a meme is legally actionable. It should be. They sat in silence. On screen, someone was crying about not having access to hair products. Dorothy. Yeah? Was any of it real? Dorothy reached over, held her hand. I don't know. But you were real. That counts for something. Does it? Yeah, it does. Emma's phone buzzed. She ignored it, buzzed again. Dorothy grabbed it, read the screen. Oh. What? It's the food delivery app. Do you want... Dorothy paused. Actually, I'm ordering pizza. You need to eat. What do you want on it? I don't care. Wrong answer. You get half pepperoni, half mushroom, and you're going to eat at least 2 slices or I'm forcing it down your throat myself. Despite everything, Emma laughed. You're bossy when you're worried. I'm always bossy. You're just usually too polite to mention it. The pizza arrived. They ate sitting on the floor like Emma and Michael had done. Dorothy found the video again. This time, muted, started making up ridiculous dialogue. And here the billionaire thinks, I should have worn a better disguise. Maybe a fake mustache, Emma added quietly. Definitely a fake mustache. In a monocle. That would have been subtle. Rich people aren't subtle. They think they are, but they're not. They laughed. It wasn't quite real laughter, but it was something. The pizza was good. Emma managed 3 slices. There you go, Dorothy said approvingly. Carbs and cheese. Solving problems since forever. I still don't have a job. We'll fix that one problem at a time. Over the following 2 weeks, Emma applied everywhere. Small cafes, big chains, diners, even fast food. Half of them had seen the video, recognized her. "We'll call you," they said, in the tone that meant they absolutely would not call her. The other half didn't know who she was, but also didn't call. Her savings dwindled. $847 became $620, became $450. Rent was due in a week. 1 week later, Dorothy had been making calls. Networking. Dorothy knew everyone in the New York coffee scene. "Java Dreams is hiring," she said. "It's a small place, family-owned. Mrs. Chen runs it. She doesn't care about viral videos." "Dorothy, I can't ask you to." "You're not asking, I'm telling." "Interview is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Wear the blue shirt. She likes blue." The interview lasted 10 minutes. Mrs. Chen was in her 60s, had kind eyes and hands scarred from years of working espresso machines. "So you're the video girl," she said. Emma's heart sank. "Yes. And you stood up for someone who couldn't stand up for themselves." Yes. Even though it cost you." Emma didn't know what to say to that. Mrs. Chen smiled. "Can you make a good latte?" "The best." When can you start?" Emma's eyes burned. "Really? Really, Monday, 7 a.m. Don't be late." 3 weeks after the video went viral. Sunday evening, Emma heard the knock. She knew it was him before she opened the door, had known he'd come eventually. Michael stood in the hallway. No disguise now, designer suit, hair perfect, looking like the Bloomberg photo, looking like a stranger. "Emma, don't. Please let me explain. You turned my kindness into an experiment." Her voice was level, cold. "You let me teach you how to survive on nothing while you went home to, what, a penthouse? You let me give you $5 I actually needed. You made me believe." She stopped. "You can't fix that with money." "I know." His voice cracked. "I know I can't, but I want to try. I bought the building, the bookstore. It's yours, your dream. Please." "No. Emma, no. I don't want your guilt gift. I don't want anything from you." She started to close the door. He stopped it with his hand. "I was wrong," he said. "What I did was wrong. I thought I needed to test kindness to know if it was real, but testing it destroyed it. And I destroyed what we had. I know that. I know sorry doesn't fix it. But I'm so sorry." Emma looked at him. Really looked. Saw genuine pain, genuine regret. Didn't care. "Go away, Michael." She closed the door. He stood there for a long moment, set down an envelope. Inside, the building deed. A note that said, "I'm sorry," in handwriting she'd recognize anywhere. She didn't open it. Slid down against the door. Let herself cry. Quiet tears. The kind that hurt more than sobs. Outside, Michael stood in the hallway. Heard her crying through the door. Walked away. Left the envelope. Felt his phone buzz. His PR team. "Sir, the story is still trending. Recommend we capitalize on the publicity with..." He turned off his phone. Didn't want their solutions. Didn't want to capitalize. Just wanted to undo the last 3 weeks. Couldn't. Michael's apartment that night. He sat at his desk, pulled out paper. Actual paper, not a screen. Wrote, "Dear Emma, I spent my whole life surrounded by people who wanted something. Money, access, status. I learned not to trust kindness because kindness always came with a price tag. I was wrong. Not because you weren't genuine. You are, but because testing kindness destroys it. Because the moment I made your compassion into an experiment, I lost the right to receive it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know what I felt was real. The conversations, the walks, the burned garlic. All of it. I'm sorry. Michael." He folded the letter, put it in an envelope. Didn't send it. What would it change? She'd thrown him out. She was right to. He set it aside. Looked at his apartment. Professionally decorated. Perfectly maintained. Profoundly empty. Thought about Emma's apartment. Her books stacked everywhere. Her mocha pot named Paolo. The window that showed the fire escape and the evening light. Her life had fit in one room and felt bigger than his entire building. 6 weeks later, Michael changed policies across all Cafe Magnifi locations. New minimum wage, $18 per hour. Full benefits from day one. Zero tolerance for customer abuse. New training. Our staff are people, not servants. Free coffee for anyone who asked, regardless of whether they could pay. His CFO, "Sir, this will cost us millions annually." "I don't care." Shareholders? "Can adjust." These are people, not line items. The changes rolled out, met with resistance. Some locations complained. Some customers boycotted. Revenue dipped slightly. Michael didn't care. It wouldn't fix what he'd broken with Emma, but it was something. Emma at Java Dreams. The cafe was small. 15 tables, ancient espresso machine that required coaxing, misses. Chen's cat slept on the counter, and customers were required to accept this. Emma loved it. "You're good at this," Mrs. Chen said one afternoon, watching Emma make a perfect latte art rosetta. "I've had practice." "More than that, you care. Most people, they make coffee, you make moments." Emma smiled. "My grandmother used to say, the coffee is just an excuse for people to sit together." The smart woman. She was. Tips were smaller here. The customers were different. Students, artists, people who counted their change before ordering, people who said, "Thank you," and meant it. Emma made less money, was happier. Dorothy visited on her breaks from Magnifi. "You know they changed all the policies," she said. "Better pay, better treatment." "That's good." "He did it, Michael. Apparently went full humanitarian overnight." Emma didn't respond. "Emma, I don't want to talk about him." "Okay." Dorothy stirred her coffee. "For what it's worth, I saw him once, walking past here. He didn't come in, just looked through the window, at you, then kept walking." Emma's hand stilled on the milk pitcher. "When?" "Last week, and the week before. He never comes in, just walks by." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I think he's trying to respect your boundaries while also being unable to let go. Which is very sad, and also very human. I can't think about that right now, I know. But eventually you'll have to decide if what he did is unforgivable or just really screwed up." Emma didn't answer. The settlement, Dorothy had insisted. Found a lawyer who worked on contingency. 6 weeks after filing, the video platform settled. $50,000. "Take it," Dorothy said over the phone. "That's enough for—" She stopped. "A lease," Emma finished quietly. "And renovation." The money hit her account on a Tuesday. Emma sat in her apartment, the same one where everything had happened, and stared at the number. Pulled out her notebook, did math. Lease deposit for commercial space, Lexington and 68th, $15,000. First year's rent, $24,000. Renovation budget, $8,000. Emergency fund, $3,000. Total, $50,000. It was possible. Terrifying, but possible. She texted Dorothy. "I'm gonna do it. The bookstore? The bookstore. Finally, when do we start? Tomorrow." Emma looked at the envelope Michael had left, still unopened on her shelf. The building deed. His guilt gift. She'd earned her own dream. Didn't need his money. Felt something shift in her chest. Forgiveness. Not full, not yet, but the beginning of it. Corner of Lexington and 68th Street. Emma stood outside the bookstore. Her bookstore. Keys in her hand. Lease agreement signed. 8 months of walking past this place, dreaming, calculating impossible math. And now it was hers. Really hers. Dorothy stood beside her. "You sure about this?" Emma looked at the dusty windows. The for lease sign coming down tomorrow. The bones of something beautiful. "I earned this one. Every dollar." She unlocked the door. It stuck. Needed WD-40. She pushed harder. It opened. Inside, dust. Old shelves. Potential everywhere. "It's perfect," Dorothy breathed. "It's a disaster." Same thing. Emma ran her hand along the built-in bookshelves. Looked up at the tin ceiling. Walked to the back room. Saw the cafe space clearly now. Pulled out her phone. Found the photo she'd taken 8 months ago through this window. Compared it to standing inside. "I'm really here!" Dorothy hugged her. "You're really here." That evening, Emma made a list. Get the building check, renovation, 4 months, stock books, hire staff, Dorothy. Open. She paused, wrote slowly. Figure out if I can forgive him. Stared at it. Didn't cross it out. 2 weeks later, the knock came while Emma was measuring the back room for cafe equipment. She knew it was him. Of course it was. Michael stood in the doorway. Same suit, same devastating regret in his eyes. "I'm not here to give you anything," he said quickly. "I wanted to say I was wrong. What I did was selfish, lonely, human, and unforgivable." Emma set down her tape measure. "I forgive you." He blinked. "What?" "I said I forgive you. Not because you fixed things, you didn't fix things, but because I choose to." Silence. "I don't understand." "I was angry. I'm still angry. You turned something real into an experiment. You lied to me." She crossed her arms. "But I also know loneliness does strange things to people. Makes them test what should be trusted. And I know you're trying to change the cafe policies. That matters. It doesn't undo what I did." "No, it doesn't. But it's something." She looked at him. "Do you know anything about installing bookshelves?" What?" "Bookshelves. Can you install them?" "I can learn." "Then you can help. Not with money, with hands if you want." He looked like she'd offered him the world. "I want." They worked side by side over the next weeks. It was awkward at first. Careful. They didn't talk about the video, didn't talk about what they'd been, just sanded wood, painted walls, argued about shelf height and paint colors. Forest green is too dark, Emma said. It's cozy, and it's a cave. What about sage? Sage is just pale green trying to be interesting. You're very opinionated about green. I'm opinionated about my bookstore. He smiled. Fair. And Dorothy visited, brought sandwiches, observed them working together. You two are being weird, she announced. We're working, Emma said. You're being weird while working. Address it or don't, but the tension is exhausting. They looked at each other, looked away. That night, after Dorothy left and they were cleaning brushes, Emma said, Why did you really do it? The experiment. Michael set down his brush. Because I forgot what real felt like. Everyone in my life wants something. You wanted nothing from me. I had to know if it was genuine. And? It was. You were. And I destroyed it anyway. You didn't destroy it. You damaged it. There's a difference. He looked at her. Is there? Destroyed means it's gone. Damaged means it can heal. Can it? Emma thought about it. I don't know yet. Ask me again in 6 months. 4 months later, opening day prep. The bookstore was transformed. Soft lighting, mismatched comfortable chairs, shelves filled with books, curated, organized with love. The cafe area, small menu, honest prices, 3 different coffee options plus tea. Sign above the door, hand-painted. Luxury is in how we treat people, not in what we have. Emma stood back, looked at it. That's from you, Michael said quietly, appearing beside her with 2 mugs of coffee. From one of our walks. You said that. I did? Yeah. You were talking about what makes a place feel welcoming, I remembered. She took the coffee. You remember a lot. I remember everything. They stood there. The bookstore behind them. The dream made real. Michael? Yeah? Ask me again. Ask you what? If it can heal, the damage. His breath caught. Can it? She looked at him, really looked. Saw the man who'd burned garlic. Who'd learned to use coupons. Who'd walked her home in the rain. Who'd made a terrible mistake and spent months trying to earn back what he'd lost. It's healing, she said. Slowly, but yeah, it's healing. Emma, he set down his coffee. I need to ask you something, and it's going to sound insane. Okay. Will you marry me? She stared. What? I know it's absurd. We're barely friends again. But the only thing that makes sense to me is you, has been you, will always be you. And I can't keep pretending I don't want forever. Emma's eyes burned. You're insane. Is that a no? It's a conditional yes. Conditional? Simple wedding. No extravagant billionaire nonsense. Something real. His smile could have lit the city. Deal. Just and we date first, like normal people. For at least 6 months. Whatever you want. And you're helping me run this place. Actually helping. Not financing. Helping. I'd be honored. She set down her own coffee. Stepped closer. And you have to promise. No more experiments. No more tests. Just us, real us. Just us, he promised. Real us, she kissed him. It tasted like coffee and second chances and the space between damaged and destroyed where healing lives. When they pulled apart, Dorothy was standing in the doorway. Finally, she shouted. I thought I was going to have to lock you two in the storage closet. Emma laughed. How long have you been there? Long enough. Also, congratulations. Also, I'm going to need many details. Also, can I be in the wedding? Obviously. Can Mr. Whiskers be in the wedding? Absolutely not. Worth a shot. 6 months later, the wedding. They held it at the bookstore. 40 people. Cafe Magnify staff. Java Dreams staff. Mrs. Chen and her cat, who behaved. Dorothy as maid of honor, Michael's brother. Emma's mother, who cried and said, I always knew you'd find someone. But so. The bookstore had been redesigned slightly. Michael's money, Emma's vision, more seating, bigger cafe. But still small, still honest, still theirs. Vows were simple. Michael, I promise to never test what should be trusted, to be real, to burn garlic less frequently. Emma, I promise to keep teaching you how to be human, to challenge you, to forgive the damage while remembering it exists. They kissed while Dorothy cheered and Mr. Whiskers knocked over a centerpiece. The reception was books and coffee and laughter. Emma stood at the counter, her counter now, watching people she loved fill the space she'd dreamed about for so long. Michael appeared beside her, handed her champagne in a paper cup because that's what they had. What are you thinking? He asked. That this almost didn't happen. We almost didn't happen. But we did. We did. A customer entered, young, nervous, looked around like she wasn't sure she belonged. Emma smiled, walked over. Hi, welcome. Can I help you find something? The girl relaxed. I saw your sign about how we treat people. I've been having a rough day and say no more. Coffee's on the house. Find a chair. Stay as long as you want. The girl's eyes filled. Really? Really? After she walked away, Michael said quietly, You haven't changed. Neither have you. Not really. You were always kind. You just forgot how to trust it. And you helped me remember. We helped each other. They stood together, watching their dream exist. Imperfect, real, theirs. Outside, snow started falling. First snow of the season. Inside, the bookstore was warm. Emma leaned against Michael. He wrapped an arm around her. Dorothy raised her glass. To Emma and Michael, who proved that some stories need to break before they can become beautiful. Everyone cheered. Emma thought, This is enough. This is more than enough. This is everything. The bookstore stayed open until midnight. People came and went. Coffee flowed. Books found new homes. And in the corner where everything started, the table where a soaked stranger sat 3 years ago, someone new sat down. Emma brought them coffee without being asked. The cycle continued. Kindness given freely. No tests. No experiments, just people being human to each other, just as it should be. The end. A small thought to sit with this story is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. Sometimes we test things that should simply be trusted. We want proof, want certainty, want to know that kindness isn't performance, that connection is genuine, that people mean what they show. But here's the strange part. The act of testing can destroy what we're trying to verify. Trust is like that. It exists in the space before proof. The moment you demand evidence, you've already broken the thing you were trying to protect. Emma gave Michael $5 she actually needed, not because she knew he'd return it, not because she expected anything, just because someone looked like they needed help and she had $5. That's the thing about real kindness. It doesn't calculate, it doesn't require the other person to earn it. It exists because the person giving it has decided that's who they want to be. Michael learned this the hard way, broke something beautiful to prove it was real, then spent months learning that some things can't be fixed, only forgiven. The bookstore they built together isn't perfect, they're not perfect, but they're real, damaged, and healing and choosing each other anyway. Maybe that's what we're all doing. Breaking things, learning, choosing to trust even after we've been tested, choosing to forgive even when the damage remains visible. The coffee is never just about coffee. The bookstore is never just about books. It's about the moment you decide, I'll be kind anyway. I'll trust anyway. I'll build something anyway. Even when, especially when, there's no guarantee it will work. That's not naive. That's just being human.